It's time to talk taxes.
New friends, new opportunities, new partners. EG Tax.
It's Ask the Tax Lady with Esther Gulius and EG Tax on News Radio 930 WBEN. To reach Esther now, call 803-0930. Toll free at 1-800-616-9236. And cell calls are free at star 930. And now, live from the WBEN studios, it's Esther Gulius.
Hello, everybody. This is the Tax Lady, and this is our hour to talk taxes. And we kind of have been doing those programs where we do your emails, but today is a live phone-in day. 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone. And so if you've been getting love letters, haven't filed your return, getting bills, New York State is writing you saying they want your W-2s, they want your 1099-Rs, this is your time to talk taxes. 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone. I got Chris Fabian and Tiffany Fabian with me. Hey, guys.
Hello, Esther.
And what are you guys doing at 4 o'clock?
We're going to see the Stones.
Yes, we are.
I'm so excited. I am very excited. And the weather's great. And,
yeah, we're going to have a great time.
Oh, the traffic ought to be horrendous.
I mean, they were, when I was a teenager, they were very popular. So
10 years ago.
Yeah, right. And so it's, when I think about this, you know, this will be very interesting.
They're exceptionally popular, too.
They really are. I mean, talk about through the ages.
I know. They've done really, really great.
Yeah, I know our daughter said, tape them, because if they die on stage, you can make a lot of money.
Isn't that encouraging?
Yeah, but I mean, they are right up there. But I'll tell you, talk about energy level.
Oh, my gosh.
So, and there's going to be so many people. It's so cool for Buffalo. I really like that.
I'm telling you. Taylor Swift and Miley Cyrus, eat your heart out.
Boy, I'll tell you. I'm Esther Gulius, the tax lady from EG Tax. We're talking taxes. And pretty much today, we're going to give you some of the things that have recently changed in the tax law, especially business owners. You should pay attention because there's some things coming down the pike that you want to make sure that if you're doing it, you don't do it because you don't want to be penalized. And if you're somebody that pays people overtime, I mean, you haven't been paying them overtime because they're salaried employees. This is another change. So you want to make sure that you listen to us. We're going to give you the lowdown on that. In the meantime, though, Chris, what are we seeing as far as letters go?
You know, the same old from New York State, sending in the W-2s, 1099-Rs. Look at people who sent in amended returns. It's miraculously now how forms have disappeared from those amended returns. So now you have to resend everything in again.
Right. Now, when we do an amended return, which would be an IT-201X if it's for New York State, we do the IT-201X and attach the entire forms that are the way they're supposed to be with all the attachments. Right. When we send it in, it's correct. Somehow the state of New York detaches them, and then they hold up the refund and processing the amended return until they get those forms.
That's right. And another letter I've been seeing is if you had a balance due in 2014, a few clients are calling me. They've got certified letters in the mail for their balance due for 2014 if it was significant. So if you had a balance due and you got a certified letter, don't ignore it. What I did is I simply set up a payment plan with those clients and perhaps offer and compromise if you're something you might be interested in too.
Right. You know, going with that's with amended returns, both for the federal and the state. We have seen where both agencies have been mailing bills, and people said, but wait, I had an amended return. The cash is checked. Why am I still getting billed for the big dollar amount? Because they haven't processed the amended return.
Right, so the electronic returns were processed, but the amended returns, which are paper returns, they still haven't gotten to them. So if you're getting a bill for that, don't just assume that that's what it is. What we suggest you do is give us a call. We'll double check and make sure that that's exactly what it is. Send a copy of the 1040X or the 201X and attach it to the bill and send it in so that they know that that's the reason. Right?
That's right.
Now, why is it such a big thing if the state of New York should ask for your W-2?
Well, you know, they already have it.
That's exactly right.
They get the quarterly payroll reports, the
right.
NY-45s that
right.
break down each
and
pay
they know
and
the answer already.
Yep.
right?
So it really is a mystery why this year there's
I
such
think
an
it's to hold up
onslaught.
the refund. I mean, look at here it is, the middle of July.
Right.
And they are still holding up refunds.
7 months.
Now
of the year.
we have a way to remedy that, right? The easiest way to make sure that you're not waiting for your refund is to change your W-4 at work so that you don't get a refund, so that you break out even, so that next July you aren't sitting around waiting for your refund from New York State, because the best thing to do is just change your W-4. Actually, it's New York, what is it, 2105?
The 2105.4, the
Right.
withholding form.
The withholding form, so that you can change your allowances so they don't take so much and send it into New York State, so you're not sitting around waiting next year for your refund.
Or if your situation changed this year for New York State and you're going to college, or you got married, or you have a child that's over the age of 4. So if your situation changed, you might be looking at a bigger refund this year. And so something to think about for changing your withholding.
Yeah, because they really do. They play games with your refunds.
Yep.
So you want to make sure that you aren't, obviously you don't,
control.
most people say, I don't want to owe, but you can get close, or maybe just get a small refund. So if it's $10 or $15, you won't care, but at least and then you'll have the money as you earn it to spend it during the year. So it's like giving yourself a raise in advance.
Raises
right?
are good.
All right. I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady from EG Tax. We're going to talk to you about the new penalty for small business owners not offering health insurance. The penalty just came into effect starting July the 1st. And we're also going to talk about the overtime threshold adjustment that President Obama just signed. I just guess he tweaked into law last week. We're going to take a short break. We're going to join you on the other side with your phone calls, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. I'm Esther Golias, Tiffany Fabian, Chris Fabian. See you on the other side.
In the nation, they go by Guardian, Lifesaver, and Friend. At Nationwide Insurance, we just call them agents. We put members first because we don't have shareholders. Join the nation that cares.
Nationwide is on your side.
I have an insurance agent who cares. That's why Bill Barber has been my agent for 15 years. For any insurance needs, call Bill. 688-2199.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio. Subject to underwriting guidelines, review, and approval.
You filed your return. Maybe your refund was smaller than you anticipated. Maybe you owed. Maybe you had to pay a penalty for not having health insurance. Or maybe you'll have a change that'll leave you wondering what's in store for next year. Now is the time to plan. At EG Tax, tax planning is what we know. It's what we do. We're open year-round to answer your tax questions, tax plan, review your return, and sign up for health insurance. Give our office a call. We're here to help. Call 632-7886 for an appointment today.
This is Attorney Dennis Kitchen. You know, even responsible people occasionally face serious financial difficulty. Bankruptcy laws were made to protect people in financial crisis and keep creditors from taking their income and property. I have met many people overwhelmed by debts, and together we have been able to find a solution. I'm Dennis Kitchen, and I'd like to help.
For the full story on debt, bankruptcy, and its alternatives, go to kitchenlaw.com or call attorney Dennis Kitchen at 631-5661. There is no charge for an initial consultation.
In the nation.
It's time to tune in to another Comfort Windows radio adventure. Let's join Dick and Jane as they contemplate their new home improvement project.
Well, Jane, we have the company. Comfort Windows has the vinyl siding and the look of real wood we want, and the best window quality and value we could find.
And all the extras that come with doing business with Comfort seal the deal.
So, let's go out back to our money tree and grab a few green ones.
Oh dear, our money tree is completely bare.
Breaking news for Dick and Jane.
This is a good news bulletin for Dick and Jane. If you suddenly find your money tree bare, Comfort Windows can get you the money you need. Get up to $3,000 off your home improvement project with 0% financing to qualified buyers. Visit ComfortWindows.com today. Look at that! The money tree is in full bloom again.
Let's get our project done with the help of Comfort Windows.
It's just that easy with Comfort Windows.
Well, this is Pink Floyd. Ha ha ha.
This is I Can't Get No Satisfaction. I know them boys. I'm Esther Gulius, the tax lady from EG Tax. We want to help you. We're going to go see the Stones here in about a few hours. 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on your cell phone. Okay, so let me tell you what came down the pike. It was put into the Affordable Care Act, but the penalty came into effect starting July the 1st, and it's for employers with over 50 full-time equivalent employees who are supposed to provide health insurance. Now, if they don't provide health insurance, Chris, what's the penalty?
It's $300.
$100 per day.
No. If they don't provide health insurance and they have over 50 employees, full-time equivalent, it's $2,000.
$2,000 per employee.
Per
Yes,
employee.
yep.
However, if this same employer who doesn't provide health insurance decides that they're going to give some extra money to the employee on the side, okay, so that they can help buy insurance themselves, the penalty for that is $100 per day per employee until the penalty gets to $36,500 or $500,000 for this company.
Employer.
That doesn't sound like the way to go.
No, I mean $2,000 is better than $36,500. So
Right.
if you're in a small employer, 50 or more full-time equivalent employees, and you have not provided health insurance, do not give your employees extra money to buy their own, because the penalty is $100 per day per employee until you stop it.
Yeah, that's not the way to go. It's definitely better to either not give it to them or get
Right.
health insurance through your staff through the marketplace.
Right.
I know I
or
took a
other
call
avenue.
the other day, and this lady was saying the same thing, but she doesn't work for a small employer. She's someone who has more than 50 employees, but she goes, what does this mean to me? I'm going to get about $4,000 more in my pay. I said, well, you're going to pay more in tax, about $600. You're going to lose a lot of the earned income credit. You're going to, so really getting that $4,000 to pay for that extra health insurance is
and the employer's penalty could be $36,500 a year, for that employee. So if you're an employer and you don't have health insurance and you've been helping your employees out, and there's more than 50 employees, full-time equivalent employees in your staff, make sure that you talk to your accountant, or you want to call EG Tax, and we'll put you in contact with somebody so that you don't end up with this penalty. Now, I will tell you that Congress right now is trying to overwrite that penalty. But since we don't know if they're going to do it, you want to make sure that, to be forearmed is to be forewarned. You want to make sure that you are doing what you can so you don't end up with this gigantic penalty. Okay? That's number one. And remember, starting this year, employers, 50 or more full-time equivalent employees, you're going to pay a penalty if you don't provide insurance of $2,000 an employee. That's if you aren't doing anything. If you do something and you aren't buying insurance and you're helping them out on the side, the penalty can be $36,500 per employee. So that's really important. All right. Number two, last week President Obama has rewritten the text as to what qualifies for overtime pay, and starting whenever this is, they're thinking it's going to be 2016, which is January. If you are a salaried employee making more than $23,660 per year, right now you're not entitled to overtime pay. However, starting with this new ruling that President Obama just came in up with, salaried employees making more than $50,550 up to $50,550 are going to be entitled to overtime. So again, if you're a employee with salaried employees making less than $50,440, you want to take a look at this, because starting 2016, you may end up having to pay overtime because you'll be eligible for overtime pay. Now,
well, this is very friendly for all those business owners, isn't
well,
it?
can you imagine they got to pay the health insurance or pay the penalty,
right,
and start paying the overtime. This is especially pointed at the fast food industry.
Gotcha. Yep.
So now, if there's still an exemption for executive and professional employees, Okay, they're exempted out of this ruling right now, but everybody else would be eligible for overtime. And let's face it, the state of New York would come in and after the fact, even if you didn't change, they would cause you to pay it. So if you have questions, you can call EG Tax at 632-7886 during the week, and we're very happy to help you. Okay?
Jeez, that makes me think of another letter that one of my clients got. I was there on Monday, and one of my clients got a letter. He went to one of our competitors, and the wife filed, and he got a 1099, and they said oh, you don't have to put the 1099 on your return anyway, because he got a bill for how much from the IRS? You came and looked at it. It was like $30,000-$40,000 because he was a small business owner,
so self-employed,
and he said, "Oh my God, it doesn't pay to be a business owner." He goes, "I'm not doing it anymore."
Well, when you're a self-employed business owner, that means you have to do a Schedule C, which means that you have to pay both ends of the FICA. So 7.85% of your FICA is borne by the employer, and you do 7.85% if you're an employee. When you're self-employed, you do the whole thing, 15.3% on your FICA plus the income tax. So that's what can really, really hurt. And that's why if you're self-employed, you want to sit down with your tax accountant to make sure that you are writing off everything that you possibly can so you don't have to pay all this money.
This guy I was thinking about, he had contract labor, and he paid them like $17,000, but he forgot to give them 1099s. And so Chris and I concluded he couldnn't write it off.
Why?
Well, he didn't 1099 them.
We'll do 1099s now.
And then pay a penalty.
Right. I mean, I did the 1099s now. Do you know how much that's going to save him?
I'll call him on Monday.
Like $5,000.
As long as he has their names and social security numbers.
Well, that's the flying.
And that's, with small businesses, we talk about this all the time. You have to get all your ducks in a row.
Yep.
That's just one thing. If you're paying subcontract, if they are true subcontractors.
And that's another thing that they're going after. Is somebody really a subcontractor? It's so much easier to say that somebody's self-employed because it saves you a lot more money as an employer, but it's not right. If they're a common law employee, that means you're telling them when to come, when to go, what you're paying them, you're providing them the stuff. They have no monetary, nothing in the fire except for what they're making. They're an employee. And if you're working like that and they're giving you a 1099 like you're self-employed, you have a big grievance you can do with New York State. I'm Esther Gulius, the tax lady, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on his cell phone. We got Al, who's been so patiently waiting. Hey, Al, how can we help you? Hello, Al.
We've been doing our taxes with you for a long time, and we're very happy.
Thank you, sir.
And my question is, I got two questions. One question, my wife is borrowing $40,000 from her 401, $40,000 from her 401k. How much state tax does she have to pay on that?
Well, you said she's borrowing it, right?
No, I'm sorry, taking it out.
Okay, how old is she, Al?
How old are you going to be?
Always make her younger, Al.
64.
Oh, okay. So does she work for the state, for the county, a school teacher, or is it
she's retired.
From a private company?
Well, she worked many jobs. Her last job,
But this is strictly just a 401k, right?
She worked for the government, for Homeland Security.
So
okay.
where
is it a 401k or is it her pension from Homeland Security?
It's her pension from Homeland Security.
Okay, so here's the good news. If it's a pension from a federal, state, or municipal, and obviously Homeland Security is federal, then all of that is going to be tax-free on New York State. She's going to pay income tax on the federal, though, and depending upon, do you guys have any other source of income besides her pension distribution that she's going to take?
Me.
And are you working, Al?
Yes.
All right, and so you have wages of about how much?
I make about $1,000 a week, about $1,000 a week.
All right, now you're not self-employed, are you?
No.
Okay, so I'm assuming they'll be in the 15% bracket.
Any Social Security for your wife yet?
Yes, she's collecting Social Security.
Are you guys withholding taxes on that when she gets the money?
Are we withholding tax money on that when we get the money? Here.
Hello?
Hi, dear.
Hello?
Are they taking money out of your Social Security when you get the Social Security payment?
Yes.
Okay, so they're withholding. But on your $40,000, it's going to be about $6,000. Will you agree?
Yeah.
15%. You're going to pay about $6,000 in federal taxes, nothing on New York State. And, of course, on your Social Security, they're withholding the taxes, and it probably was already 85% taxable if your husband has that kind of income. So you're withholding, so you'll be in good shape. And, of course, on the state of New York, your Social Security is tax-free, too.
And so your husband's original question is how much to withhold on the state, and the answer is nothing.
Zero, right.
Oh.
And it is a government pension.
Right,
where
you're
it's
taking it out from Homeland, right, ma'am?
It's a 401k.
From
the government, federal government.
So a 403B.
Right,
probably.
it should be a 403B, yeah.
And so you don't have to withhold any
Right.
state tax if what you're telling us is
Is
correct.
correct. But the best thing to do is to call us at the office, 632-7886. We have your file, and we can pull it up, and then we'll make sure that what we're telling you is correct. Because if this were a private pension or private, if this wasn't a government pension, then the first $20,000 would be tax-free, and the balance would be taxable. This way, it'll give us a chance to make sure that you're retired on, that you're taking the money from the Homeland Security, okay?
Okay.
All right, thanks, dear.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye-bye. I'm Esther Gulius, the tax lady from EG Tax. Our phone number here in studio is 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone, and we would love to help you. Is news at 3:30 or 3:31? Do we know?
3:30.
3:30. Okay, so we just got a little bit before the news. On the other side of news, we want to talk about other issues, sales tax issues, the BP settlement, which was $18.7 billion, things of that nature. Give us a call on the other side if you have any questions. 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone. See you in a sec.
It's 3:30, 79 degrees outside from the WBEN newsroom. I'm Joe Beamer. Here's what's happening. A 2-alarm fire at Carmine's on Transit Road. Ryan Hendricks there. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Joe. Looking at a total loss right now. It's just shocking. I've been talking to residents. I just confirmed with the incident commander that grease was the cause of this fire. They're just not quite sure how dirty the hood was of the kitchen. Of course, that plays a factor. If your kitchen is especially dirty and the hood is greasy, the fire is going to be particularly tough to contain. And that was the case here, Joe. They battled it for 2.5 hours. This parking lot is just a mess. The building is in ruins. The roof is torn apart. The parking lot's flooded. Multiple agencies still here. They have part of Transit Road blocked up. So if you're in the Transit Road area, I would suggest getting on a parallel street and kind of trying to get around Carmine. Neighbors here are just devastated by this news. One lady who told me she didn't want to be identified said that she spoke to the owner's son who called her from Philadelphia. She was getting pictures from him. She thought it was a fire, she thought it was a fire in Philadelphia. It turned out to be Carmine. She flew up here from Clarence. She was in tears talking to me, and that seems to be the general sentiment is people are very concerned, but they also did express some optimism that the family is particularly resilient. They believe they will rebuild and get over this hurdle. And again, a 2-alarm fire, as you said at the outset, Joe, top of the newscast, destroying this building at 4715 Transit Road. You can follow us on Twitter. Devastating pictures here. And that's the latest from Transit Road, reporting from Carmine's, which is been totally destroyed because of a fire. I'm Ryan Hedrick, News Radio 930 AM, WBEN.
Thank you, Ryan. The exclusive AccuWeather forecast. It looks like it's going to be great weather for the Stones tonight. We're going to get up to 81. We're at 79 degrees right now, but it feels like 85. I'm Joe Beamer, News Radio 930, WBEN and WBEN.com. Follow us on Twitter at News Radio 930.
Hi, this is Esther, and let me tell you how great it is to have an insurance agent like Nationwide's Bill Barber. Bill's 40-plus years experience has saved me money on my premiums and potential claims. Have an insurance question, problem, or crisis? Bill will work with you personally without calling an overseas customer service number. All I can say is whenever I need someone on my side, I'm glad to have Nationwide's Bill Barber.
For all your insurance needs, call the Bill Barber Agency at 688-2199. Call 688-2199 today.
Nationwide is on your side.
Taxes can be a puzzle sometime, but Esther Gulius makes it understandable. This is attorney Dennis Kitchen. I've been a lawyer for over 35 years, and I consider it my duty to make the law understandable to my clients. Whether it's bankruptcy, estates, wills, litigation, family law, or real estate, my experience and training can guide you through the puzzling parts of the law and help you understand. I'm Dennis Kitchen, and I'd like to help.
Find attorney Dennis Kitchen at kitchenlaw.com or call 631-5661.
Wendt Propane and Oil, serving all of your propane and oil needs in Western New York for over 40 years. Mention the EG Tax Radio Show and receive special new customer pricing. Call Wentz today at 731-3015. That's 731-3015.
This is Stop Me Up, right? If you stop me up,
Start
right?
me up.
Start me up. Well, stop me up. Start me up.
Stop me up.
I
Like
need
a whole
I
different
need
song.
I often thought that it was strange that he would talk about getting stopped up.
Maybe he's going over the Canadian border.
Oh, dear God. Well, you know how you can't tell these lyrics.
That's
Anyway,
right. That's
sometimes,
right.
like Louis Louis, you know, we used to think, oh my gosh, what that was talking about back in the day. I'm Esther Gulius, the tax lady, 803-0930, 803-0930, 930 on the cell phone. Love to talk to you, hear any tax problems you have, questions you might have. Okay, we're talking about BP settlement. They had a $18.7 billion settlement, but it's tax deductible, which is very interesting because it's kind of a penalty.
I was going to say.
And usually they would not allow you to deduct penalties. So after they save taxes, it'll be down to about $12 billion. Not that $12 billion is small, but it does save them like $6 billion.
Wow.
So that was an interesting thing. And then the other thing is, you know, it's really good when you can make lemonade out of lemons, don't you think?
I do. So
And-
can I back up for 2 seconds?
Yeah.
So you mean BP is allowed to write off part of that settlement when they do
All of it.
Wow.
Almost all of it.
That is remarkable.
That is, because normally no one else could. But it must have been when they were negotiating, they said, yeah, well, we'll give you this much money because they were going to drag this thing out forever and
Yep,
ever and ever.
yep,
So they came up with the money. I guess they're doing periodic payments, but still it's going to be deductible, which saves them a lot of money.
It does.
You know? With all the stuff that's going on in Greece, and the euro, which is having a big problem. If you ever wanted to take a trip to Europe, now's the time to do it because the euro is down 40%. And so what was a very high exchange rate before, your dollar was only worth 70 cents. Now it's almost there was only a 9-cent difference as of a couple days ago.
Yeah, right now it's $89.63 per $100 US.
Right,
so.
which is remarkable. So if you ever been in the market to go to Europe, and then the other thing is Canada. You know, Canada, we love Canada. They were coming over to the United States because the U.S. dollar was really weak against the Canadian dollar a few years ago. Well, that's completely flipped over. So now the U.S. dollar is worth $1, and the Canadian dollar, U.S. dollar buys about $1.27 worth of Canadian money. So it's like a 28% discount that you would get if you were to buy something in Canada. So think about this. you could take a trip to Europe. This is just my little tip of the day. If you wanted to take a trip to Europe flying on a Canadian airline, which was a $1,000 round trip, is only going to cost you $730 round trip U.S. So you get the discount flying out of Canada, and you got the discount on the euro. So a European vacation, which may have never been in your sites, maybe something that you want to look at.
Yep, absolutely. I was listening to public radio, and I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but the negotiations for Greece, now they're back at the table, and the offer is something, they have to do something with their pensions and reduce salary. I mean, if you're living in Greece right now and you're a Greece citizen, just a predicament to be in, you know.
Well, I mean, but the bottom line is Greece is acting a lot like people that are on public assistance. They really want Europe to come up with the money, and and they don't want to pay it back. I mean, they just defaulted on a gigantic payment last week. So, you know, that's but going back to Canada, for instance, if you were to buy a place in Toronto, you always wanted an apartment in Toronto, cosmopolitan, a $200,000 Canadian condo, after you'd get like a $54,000 discount.
That's pretty
awesome.
awesome.
I mean, that's another thing too, right?
Yep.
Because it's not all, it's all about making wise financial decisions. And I have a lot of my clients that said they'd like to do a riverboat cruise. What a time to do a riverboat cruise! Do the Danube on a reduced dollar.
Now is your opportunity.
So it gives you great opportunity. I'm Esther Gulius, the tax lady. 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. Kind of want to shift gears now, and since college is coming up in September, actually like next month, right?
Right. We were just at a graduation party last year, and if I look around
last night,
if I look around my neighborhood, I see them all over the place. So now is the time of year to start thinking about college.
All right, so we got 10 ways. This is from U.S. News and World Report. 10 ways to cut college costs. And I want to tell you something. I saw something the other day. It says you have to make a decision. Would you rather be a poor student or a poor adult? Because if you don't bite the bullet now and you run up all your debt, those student loans follow you forever and ever. And so when you should be an adult and building equity and getting homes and things, if you're still paying off those student loans, you have to say to yourself, gee, if I would have just been more frugal as a student, I wouldn't have these things following me around. So, number one, stay in state. Why would that be true?
Because state colleges are so much cheaper than if you go to North Carolina when you're a resident of New York State. And so because you're a resident of the state, your tuition is that much cheaper. Now, if you're a non-resident of New York State, your tuition would go up and vice versa.
Right. So get your kids to stay in state.
Yep. I was talking to somebody the other day, and her kids are New York State people, but they want to go to a private college. And so the mom is like, no, you don't need to pay $180,000 for a bachelor degree.
That's true.
To go to a private
school.
And she said,
and the thing is, that's really, I think you have to love your kids enough to say no.
Right.
To say no. Say no. All right, number two, consider community colleges. Now, that is not sexy at all.
No.
Not at all.
But just a case in point.
But it's so smart.
My daughter, Rebecca, she goes to UB, and she had to take a health class, science class. And so she's taking it at ECC this summer. And that's a community college, and it's far more cheaper than it would be.
Almost half the cost.
When you think about it, I know kids. Well, you know how kids are. Kids are kids. They just think there's a tree in the backyard. Mom and Dad go pick the money off of it, and they want to go someplace, maybe to impress themselves. I don't know, but from a real long-term range, because let's face it, real wise people plan long-term, because eventually the debt's going to hit you. And I tell you, I see clients that are paying $1,500, $2,000 a month in student loans, and they could have a better car, they could have a better house, they could have, and then the kids come, and then there's daycare and all that stuff. All right, number three, look locally for scholarship opportunities, even the little ones, right?
Yep.
The little ones add up. I mean, $100 here, $500 there. before you know it, maybe half your tuition would be paid for through these scholarships.
Right.
Look online for scholarships. Don't, Google scholarships, and you'd be surprised how many are out there that are unclaimed every year.
I'm trying to think. Your brother Lou and your sister-in-law Shelley, I thought they did something with scholarships, I'm sure. Yeah, but just there's a whole slew of them.
But I guess that all just comes down to the fact that the family's got to get together and say, let's do this as reasonably as possible. We'll go out and we'll go from car dealer to save $100 or $200, but we go way into debt for college.
That's very well put.
All right, number 4, stay on track so you don't drag out the number of years it takes to get your degree. And boy, ain't that the truth.
You mean don't switch 10 times?
Well, that would be good. That would be good. I mean, because if it takes you 6 years to get a bachelor's degree, you added 2 more years on to the cost of the tuition.
Right. It's compounded. And
So
the cost goes up and up and up.
Right. And number 5, don't assume you won't get financial aid. Always fill out your FAFSA form, because you really don't know. If there's 2 kids in college, the more kids that are in college, and you would know this, Tiffany, because you seem to always be in college. Isn't it true that the more people in college, the better your opportunity is to get financial aid?
Yep, definitely. There's there's a family that used to babysit our kids, and they had 9 children, and so they got more FAFSA. The more kids you have, the greater your FAFSA payment is. And
right.
So the more the reduction, the more aid you'll get.
And by the way, if you're filling out your financial aid form and you need help, EG Tax will help you to fill out your financial aid forms too. Right? Yep. And the earlier you get them in, the better it is, correct?
That's
correct.
right. Yeah.
Your financial aid forms.
Yeah, that's right. And you can always go back and make changes to it. So if you're worried that you're holding off because you need more information, you can always submit what you have, and you can always go in very easily and make changes to it.
All right. And then, like right now, here it is. We're getting ready for the kids going to school. And tip number 6 is know your priorities. Don't overbuy stuff when you're going to school. Just get what you need when you need it. In other words, don't buy a bunch of junk to send your kids away to school. I mean, just get them what they need, and there's nothing wrong with getting it secondhand.
Right.
Like at the Salvation Army, thrift store.
Or sometimes even my daughter Rebecca, she would wait to get the books to the first week of class because she would check to see if she could get them used.
Right, or sometimes the teacher doesn't even use the books that are listed that you think you have to, and, you can do other things.
Right, so that, you can go down and get your books right away, but sometimes this is one of those adages where if you wait, sometimes it pays off.
Right. I'm Esther Gulius, the tax lady from EG Tax. 632-7886 is our phone number at corporate. If you need help during the week, any week, 9 to 5, we're very happy to help you. 8030930 is our phone number here in studio. Star 930 on a cell phone. We're going to take a short break. We'll answer your calls on the other side.
Wendt Propane and Oil, serving all of your propane and oil needs in Western New York for over 40 years. Mention the EG Tax Radio Show and receive special new customer pricing. Call Wentz today at 731-3015. That's 731-3015.
In the nation, they go by Guardian, Lifesaver, and Friend. At Nationwide Insurance, we just call them agents. We put members first, because we don't have shareholders. Join the nation that cares.
Nationwide is on your side.
I have an insurance agent who cares. That's why Bill Barber has been my agent for 15 years. For any insurance needs, call Bill. 688-2199.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio. Subject to underwriting guidelines, review, and approval.
You filed your return. Maybe your refund was smaller than you anticipated. Maybe you owed. Maybe you had to pay a penalty for not having health insurance. Or maybe you'll have a change that'll leave you wondering what's in store for next year. Now is the time to plan. At EG Tax planning is what we know. It's what we do. We're open year-round to answer your tax questions, tax plan, review your return, and sign up for health insurance. Give our office a call. We're here to help. Call 632-7886 for an appointment today.
This is Attorney Dennis Kitchen. Even responsible people occasionally face serious financial difficulty. Bankruptcy laws were made to protect people in financial crisis and keep creditors from taking their income and property. I have met many people overwhelmed by debts, and together we have been able to find a solution. I'm Dennis Kitchen, and I'd like to help.
For the full story on debt, bankruptcy, and its alternatives, go to kitchenlaw.com or call attorney Dennis Kitchen at 631-5661. There is no charge for an initial consultation.
Now that's brown sugar, right? At least I didn't call it brown something sap, right? At least I knew this song.
Yeah, that would be a tough one to mess up.
I heard brown sugar in there. I'm Esther Gulius, the tax lady, 8030930, 8030930, star 9 on the cell phone. We're going to go see the Stones tonight. I'll give you a full report next week. And if they come out with their walkers, I'll let you know, and their scooters. But it ought to be interesting. And we're going to go to the phones, and we're going to talk to Ron from Grand Island. Hey, Ron, how you doing? What can we do for you?
I'm doing fine, thanks. My question is this. When I have a son that was in high school, took some college courses in software, ended up doing the American Opportunity Credit. And so now I've used up all 4 credits, and as I come into next year, I'd like to amend, but I know amendments, if you're getting a refund, are not able to be done after 3 years. I'm wondering if I want to amend to pay back, can I free up that American Opportunity Credit and use it for his
Well, he shouldn't have taken the American Opportunity Credit. First of all, when your kid is in high school, I know. When your kid's in high school and they send you the form, you think you should take it, but really you need a lot of planning when you're doing these tax credits. So, yes, he could amend that return, right, Chris?
Yep. You can amend it, back it
Pay
off,
back.
pay back the money you got, and then that would open up another year.
This year, right.
Okay. So when I was reading up on it, I just wanted to make sure, because it says you can amend up to 3 years.
If you have a refund to get a right. So
Okay,
this way you'd be paying. You're paying back. I'm assuming that school was only like $400 or $500 that first year, right?
It was low, yes.
So you're going to pay back the $400, and happy to do it because the credits are like $2,500. So yes, that's wise planning.
Okay. So that's fully legit if it's
Fully
not
legit because truthfully, you weren't entitled to take it.
right.
Okay, so I mean, really, you're just doing what you should have done in the first place.
And then don't forget, Ron, when you do the return, when he goes to college, to take the college credit on the state, too, if he's working on his bachelor's.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay?
Okay, wonderful. Thank
All right,
you.
thanks, Ron.
Smart
All right,
planning.
speaking of that, because we're talking about colleges, let's talk about the American Opportunity Tax Credit. That when you're in high school and you're taking those advanced placement classes, right? Those AP classes. What do you do with that? Because they send those forms.
Absolutely nothing.
So
I called NATP, and they said if it's billed directly from the college, but anyway.
It's not. It's you pay through the school, the high school. You're still a high school student.
because you're not
and you're
matriculated,
not
as a
matriculated
student.
Yep.
But so the AP classes, you would, if anything, it would have only been a lifetime learning credit, right?
Right.
Number one. But when you're looking at the American Opportunity Tax Credit, it's a lot of money. The maximum credit is up to $2,000, and on the state of New York, you get like $400 to $500 back. So it's like $2,500. So when you're getting ready for your kids to go to college this year, make sure that you understand that you have, if it's one child in the first 4 years, the credit is almost $2,500. 2 children would be $5,000. 3 children would be $7,500, and this is money in your pocket if it's all the first 4 years of continuing education. After the 4 years, just like Ron had called, it's not like the credit goes away, but the refundable portion goes away, and the credit drops down to 10% of the first $10,000, right?
That's
or
right.
20% of the first
20%.
10,000, which would be maximum 2,000
per tax return.
Per family, right?
Per family.
Right. So
And that
so
one's
it's a
called the
major
lifetime.
difference.
Yep.
Right, and that's why Ron was interested in amending to pay back that so he can get the $2,500 this year.
Right. And then not to mention the AOTC, the income threshold is much greater than the lifetime and the adjustment to income. So if Ron was, for instance, a larger income earner, that hurdle is much more achievable.
Which is another thing to talk about. If you are a parent with kids going to college, we're talking about kids going to college, and there's an income threshold, and at about 180, it's gone right around then, right? 180 something. Yep. It's gone. So using your 401k at work is a great tool because they use the adjusted gross income. So if you can put away maximum 401k money to reduce, if you're going to go and lose that credit, to reduce your adjusted gross income, then you'll get the credit. So it's a win-win. The money's in your pension plan and you got the refundable credits. And again, this is July. We have 6 months to go, and this is the only time to facilitate those changes. You just can't come up with this kind of chunk of money at the end. So again, if you want to call EG Tax during the week so we can plan with you, because it's remarkable when you sit down with somebody and they say, well, how about this? And have you thought about this? And maybe we can do this. And you say, but I don't have the money to do that. Well, then why didn't you do this? And you'd be surprised how just putting that other head with yours, how much more wisdom there is.
And then I'm thinking if that person bulked up their 401k, if they had to, they could take a loan from it. And I mean,
that's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right about putting two heads together. Sometimes I don't think of everything, but my client will say something and together.
Yep. Yeah. Right. All right, now let's go back to World and U.S. News and World Report talking about making what you can do to save money for college. Make the most out of the meal plan at school. If your kid is not, you got the meal plan and your kid's not using it.
And Esther, Becca, my daughter, she loved the food at UB. Didn't she, Chris?
Well, that's because you get to eat junk food, right?
Right.
I mean, isn't it true?
Well, nowadays they have every type of restaurant.
Yeah,
right.
They do.
But I mean, it's not like you're going to the cafeteria and watching Aunt Millie make mac and cheese. I mean,
Italian
it's real.
And Chinese and wraps and sushi. I mean, they just had these choices. It's very multicultural.
But gear your food plan towards your child.
That's exactly right. So tell them if they got that little card, eat at school. Right?
Yep. Use it up, too, before the end of the year because you lose it if you don't use it.
Right. Number 8, identify student discounts. There's all kinds of discounts for students. Mm-hmm. Google it. Find out what discounts are in the area and make sure that your kid uses them.
We just went to a fair the other day, and my kids used their college credit for going to the fair, and it was great. It was great.
Yep.
Movie theaters, you name it.
Rapid transit.
Right.
Number 9, skimp on the small stuff. Go to the dollar store for pencils and markers and all that kind of stuff. Don't go spending a bunch of money. Go to the dollar store, that kind of thing, so that you can make the most out of the education experience without it costing you a fortune. Right?
I know Becca. I always hate to bring her up, but since she's involved in our life, we're talking about college. She goes garage selling to look for furniture for her dorms or her apartment. You don't buy the new, buy a used.
That's right. Yeah. And that's so great. And then number 10 is say no. I mean, I think the word no is a very good word.
No.
Because, when you're dealing with an 18-year-old who doesn't know really the ins and outs of finances and budgeting, the best thing a parent can tell their kid is no. You aren't going to Columbia.
Right.
No, you're not going to Wharton, if you could get in. I mean, it's just really expensive. Then once they prove themselves, I know I said to my kids, the first 2 years you're going to state school, UB, or Buff State. That's it. And if you are a genius, then in the 3rd and 4th year, we'll transfer you wherever you want to go. The interesting thing in all of my children's situation, all of them stayed in UB, and none of them had any debt when they got out, because we paid for it as we went. And you can do that too. You can do and how does that work, Chris? There's a pay as you go.
You can go as like a 2-payment plan, a 3-payment plan, or a 4-payment plan. So you don't have to come up with all of it right away. Just tell the school, look, I need a payment plan, and they'll say, okay, give us some in September, October, November, and December.
Now, do they charge you interest on that money? So it's an interest-free loan, and you can pay for your kids' college as you go.
Over the semester.
Right?
Yeah.
Over the semester.
And college isn't for everybody, too. Don't make your kid go to college if they don't,
trade school.
Trade schools.
A trade school. If you're, I mean, what are we going to do when there are no plumbers left and electricians?
Not good.
Right? All right, let's go back to the phones. We got Tony from Clarence. Hey, Tony, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, Esther. It's my birthday, so I'm...
Aw, happy birthday, Tony.
Happy birthday, Tone. Big kiss.
Yeah, but I got to start counting backwards, Esther. It's going to be dance here. Okay, there was a guy named Art Lesko. I don't know if you remember that man's name. He used to publish a book that gave you information on scholarships. And one of the things I learned from his book was that different nationalities have different scholarships for people of that nationality.
That's true.
You can apply and get help from, be it German, English, Irish, Polish, whatever. And you can maybe get a small scholarship, but it still helps.
That's true. And I'll tell you, there's a website called FindAid.com, which is another thing. There's so much online that could help you with college as well. So, well, Tony, happy birthday.
Well, yeah, I have another thought, too.
Yeah.
If the person lives within the commuting area of the school, let's say the Buff State or the University of Buffalo, Canisius, or whatever, you can get a bus pass instead of driving a car to school and having to pay for the parking and all the other accessories that go with it.
Right.
And
Very good.
Gasoline.
Very good.
That's right.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Happy birthday. He's a good guy.
He's right.
We were just in Europe, and that's what they did. It's public transportation or bikes.
Right. And bikes are so good for you. But bikes in Buffalo are a little chilly in the winter, unless you can put like a plastic hood over your bike. But during the week, if you need any help, if you get a letter, don't pay the bill until you see us. There's no charge. You need a second opinion. Most of the bills are incorrect to some percentage, and that's part of what we do. There's no charge. If you're in the middle of an audit, EG Tax will help you with your audit. And you just had a big sales tax audit yesterday, which helped somebody.
Just had a huge sales tax audit. The guy had no idea what he was doing when it happened. We appealed it.
How much were they getting him for, Chris?
About $24,000 to begin with. We got it. He paid $6,000 so far, and we got the rest waived.
So, I mean, that's what we do. We want to help you. If you need any help during the week, we're at 632-7886. Our website is egtax.com, and we're there 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. During tax season, we're there forever. But until next week, I'm Esther Golias with Chris Fabian and Tiffany Fabian. We're going to go see the Stones now. Have a good week. Bye-bye.